Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome back to Behind the Veil, a show that provides insight into the world of weddings. I'm your host, Keith Willard. Welcome back. A lot has changed in the last 2 months, and I'm really excited to say that we actually are starting to have to talk about post-COVID. But what does that really mean? What has really changed over the last 2 months? And how are we adjusting in this new world? What has stayed the same? And what are things that are going to continue to change? And that also happens in our interpersonal lives as well. Like what is happening in our offices? Well, we've got some great people to talk about that. And our first up is Marcy Gutenberg with An Affair to Remember by Marcy. Hi, Marcy. Welcome.
Hi, Keith.
So I know I made the major mistake and I forgot to send our other host the link for the show, but she will be on shortly. But until then, oh gosh, and there she goes. Let me introduce Lauren Fine. Lauren is an event specialist at Event Group Services. Having been in the event industry for over 2 decades, Lauren has extensive experience in the corporate and social sectors. Lauren has created events locally and internationally, from detailed design concepts to logistic planning. Lauren is adept in clients' needs assessment of offering creative solutions and has a proven ability to communicate, influence, and interact with other customers, vendors, and coworkers. Lauren, I am so glad that we talked about all the different things that could go wrong with this show before we started, because all of those have happened in literally the first couple of minutes. So welcome to the show.
Thank you. Good to be here.
Oh my goodness. So congratulations on your position at Event Services Group. I know that they're a massive company and that they do everything. They have multiple companies that they both own and manage that kind of do everything. Yeah.
They do almost everything. Yes, absolutely.
Which is why I thought you were such a great guest for this, because if anybody that can see what has happened in the past and what is happening in the future for all the different areas, you seem to be like the perfect fit. I mean,
thank you. Yeah. So Event Group Services is basically a large company. We own smaller companies that work within the different disciplines of our events. So we have Elegant Occasions, which is geared towards the brides. We have Motivate, which we do it's corporate and a lot of mitzvahs. We've got DJs. We've got our own talent company that you can do direct specialty talent, and we also have a casino division.
Really?
Yeah, and we have one more, and we also do which falls under all this. We do a lot of graphics and printing for events.
Oh gosh, of course. Then you do everything. Oh, and there's Brooke. Hey, Brooke, I am so sorry. I just actually apologized on screen for the fact that it was my fault that I didn't send you the link for today's show. So sorry about that. But you're showing me the beauty, so that's good. Brooke, meet Lauren. Lauren, meet Brooke.
Hi, Lauren.
And then and look, and there's Marcy Gutenberg. The whole crowd is here. Yay, we're all back.
I don't know if this is going to work or not today, but we'll see what we can do.
I feel like maybe we were getting fired or put on leave or something. I don't know what's going on, Mr. Willard.
Or we're being pumped.
I will find it out.
Well, the thing is that it's like all things events. We roll with it to make it work. No matter what happens, our job is to continue making it move forward and feel like, nothing's happened. Of course, this is natural. Of course, we can handle this. So, but of course, and this relates directly with what's going on now between post and pre-COVID. I mean, I can't really even say that we're post-COVID anymore at this point, because we're not really post-COVID, considering that not even 50% of the United States is vaccinated. But couples are moving forward. I know I have been busier in the last 2 months than I have in all of 2020. Lauren, are you finding the same thing?
Yeah, absolutely. I think part of it is just everybody's so sick of, a lot of our clients have postponed over the last year, and they're ready to just to get those celebrations going and get the excitement out. And, we had a few months where everyone was kind of locked down and everyone's ready to get out and party and enjoy life. And I think we're here now getting there. The issue is everyone's still a little timid about signing off on the contracts because they're worried what happens if something else happens? What happens if we have another surge? What happens if we have another lockdown? What happens? Right. So I think that's where we are right now. We're on that fine line between let's go and just go crazy, and we need to be careful because we don't know what's going to happen.
Are you talking about the possibilities of something else happening while you're selling the dream? I mean, I know when I talk to couples, I always err on the side of caution to say, yes, you're looking to invite 125, 150, 200 people, whatever that may be. Just be aware that we're going to have to adjust that number depending on what the world is like. And everybody seems to be open to that at this point. They're like, yes, we know, we just don't want to think about it at the moment.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's easier for them to be more flexible. I think they're open to being more flexible because they do understand. But like just yesterday, we got the news, our governor of our state of Florida just lifted all the COVID
restrictions. Well, but of course that doesn't always pertain to Broward and Miami-Dade, because we seem to buck the trend when it comes to all of Florida.
We are more cautious. We are
definitely more cautious. But yes. It's nice to see. It is nice to see that. But so what is one of the things that you feel like is going to continue regardless of the fact that we're opening back up? That we instilled during COVID, that we said, okay, we've got to do this in order to do everything we can to protect people. What is the one thing you feel like is going to, or maybe two things that you feel like are something that we should have already been doing, even if it wasn't COVID?
I mean, as far as like industry-wide, or do you mean just personal hygiene, like with people washing their hands?
Actually, that's what I was going to go with. I was going to go personal hygiene. Like, sanitation stations make a total sense when you're talking about a whole bunch of people coming in from all different parts of the country that you don't know. We talk about double dipping Eddie on here all the time about how disgusting double dipping Eddie is on the buffet. And right, we do not like Miss Eddie. But, I think sanitation stations are a smart thing that we added during COVID as a precautionary thing. And I feel like that's going to be one of those things that I'm going to want to continue because it just makes sense.
Right. Yes.
What about masks?
No, I don't think that's going to continue because number one, they want to hug and kiss and all that stuff, but they also want to take pictures. And when you take photos,
yep, you
want people's faces. It's I understand that doesn't always go along with the restrictions, right. But people do. This is something they want, especially when they're looking back on their memories. They don't want to see
See, and that gets really testy. It is amazing when I talk about masks, how crazy people get, like both pro and con. So this is one of the things I feel like is going to be a thing. Before, when you were doing social events, you didn't talk about politics and you didn't talk about religion. I feel like COVID is going to be the third thing that we add in there, where you can't talk about religion, you can't talk about politics, and you can't talk about COVID.
For me.
Because I feel like everybody has a different idea of what makes them feel safe. And, and weddings and events in general, we try to do everything we can to make everybody feel comfortable. But there's going to be a point that we're going to offend somebody, but what's that point?
Right. I mean, I think it also depends on the individual, right? Because you've got some people that are very conservative and careful. And then there's other people that are like, all right, it's over. We're done. COVID's done. There's, we don't have to worry about anything anymore.
Yeah. Moving forward.
Yeah. So, I mean, you have to know your client, and you also have to know, there's got to be some middle ground as well, because if you do have that client it's over, I mean, you still have to somehow be respectful of, if you're at a venue, if it's one thing if you have a house party,
right.
That's one thing. But if you're at a venue and you're in common areas and other things like that, I mean, that you do have to respect that, and you do have to explain that to your client.
And that's the hard part. As event pros, we have to pay attention to not just our clients' rules and what they want, but we have to pay attention to the rules of the location and the rules of the municipalities and the rules of maybe even other people that are coming. I mean, that is a lot of different people to be listening to and trying to convert into one streamless or seamless event.
True.
Right. So I'm going to go back to masks. I know, super touchy subject, mask, right? Because one of the things that Brooke does is that she brings a face shield because she's like, I don't want anybody messing up this makeup. I still want to be able to do this, and I want everybody to see my beauty.
I don't know if that's particularly what it is. I think it's more like stuff like that.
Okay, we'll go with that, right? But but one of the nice things is that because of the idea of wearing a face shield versus a mask, then we were like, oh, well, duh, we can bring this to our brides because all they have to do is hand us their face shield as they're about to go down the aisle. And so we were able to do both. We were able to keep people protected, but then also keep them available, their face available for the photos.
Yeah.
You know, what do you do? But how do you handle something that is not personally your comfort level when it comes to an event? Do you put aside your own personal feelings and then focus just on what the client is looking to do? I know that's a rough spot. I know.
You're not going to like the answer. I mean, that's a really like case by case basis. I mean, if it's something that's completely reckless, you can't
Right.
go with it, right? But I mean, if it's something that, you know, if I'm, you know, super cautious and I am, you know, living in a bubble and I don't want to like go near anything, you know, I kind of have to go outside that comfort level a little bit, which I'm not, but I'm good. But like,
well, I get that. It's kind of like a bar, right? The same thing happens when people are drinking. There are rules and regulations that go around with drinking, even though, you know, you can't be reckless with your bar. You have an open bar, but there's still rules around that open bar. And I feel like face masks are going to be kind of the same thing. There's still going to be rules around it, you know, and maybe they'll just become commonplace.
well, I know right now, I mean, like I just had a meeting with a client a week ago and they're looking to do a party at a venue. And one of the things that they wanted to make sure is that the venue is okay with the guests not wearing masks.
So they asked first.
Right.
Well,
And
there
again,
you go.
by the time, and their event is you know, several months away,
Right.
but it's something that's important to them. And each venue also has their own rule. Like we were saying, like everybody's going to have their own rules. So you need to know in advance what is going on. But again, you know, that all can change too. I mean, I'm hoping we're going to go towards the, you know, everything's more open and people are going to be vaccinated and hoping for that outcome.
Yeah.
Not the other way, but
Right.
you know.
So this is going to be an interesting question. I'm going to put myself on the spot first because it's not fair to put everybody else on the spot first. They recently had an article both in the New York Times and on brides.com, and I'm sure they're going to have it on the Knot. I'm sure that this is going to come up in multiple articles about whether or not it was okay, politically okay, to ask that your guests were vaccinated before they came to your wedding. And considering that currently, I just read a statistic that said, and not to bring politics into it, but it's the only measurement I really have at this point, that 20% of Republicans and 8% of Democrats are stating that they are not going to get the vaccine. How are we supposed to, as event planners, get that to happen? Like if our client says to us, we don't want anybody coming to the event that's not vaccinated, where does that put us? How do we do that? Do we just say, okay, look, that is a client, the client has said, sorry, you have to be vaccinated in order to get into this event. And then where do we go from there?
Well, the question is, are they going to be required to show proof, or are they going to just say it? Because I mean, let's face it, if that's a requirement to go to a wedding and you don't have to show proof of it, how many people are just going to be like, oh yeah, I'm vaccinated?
Well, and you know, and I said I was actually on the differing opinion on this, and I look back at it, and I still believe this. I didn't feel like it was fair for a couple to ask their guests to be vaccinated because vaccinating yourself doesn't really protect other people; it protects yourself. And so, you know, if you're really worried about getting infected, then vaccinate yourself and protect yourself. But then, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, if it's important to the couple, I think they have a right to say it. I do. I don't think they have a right to expect people to get vaccinated just to attend their wedding. I think that's two separate things.
And so, Marcy, how do you put that on an invite?
Okay. So,
I know.
so
I
would
like,
probably, I mean, I haven't been asked this yet, but I'm going to say that I think that I would recommend, if they're going to do it, to put it on a separate enclosure card, not on the invitation, and say, we would appreciate. You can't, obviously, I don't feel that you can expect, like Lauren and you were both saying, I don't think you can expect people to abide by your wishes.
Right.
But you can say, we would respect, or we would appreciate that all guests come vaccinated. And if they don't come vaccinated, that's on them.
Right.
But as you said, you have to protect yourself. So you get vaccinated as the host or the couple.
Right.
And that way you kind of covering the best that you can, with, being a little bit, respectful.
But this is one of those pre-COVID, post-COVID questions that we're going to have to answer. How do you put that on an invitation? Because it's going to be both for corporate and social. We're going to run into this, both corporate and social. How do you word this on a social invitation, a wedding invitation? I
would say something like, with much appreciation, we are requesting all of our guests to be vaccinated, and just leave it at that. I mean, short, sweet, but, put it in a friendly tone.
And this is one of those situations that less is more. Less words.
Yes.
Less
put on
words.
a little business card slip.
And if somebody has a problem, they're going to, if somebody has a problem, that the people that are going to be the most vocal are the ones that are going to come and talk to you as the host or the couple.
Oh, 100%. We talk about wedding shaming. I have a feeling that this is going to come up in the whole wedding shaming idea. Yeah, this will come up. Well, what about corporate stuff, Lauren? Have you guys discussed about, like, if this question comes up for your clients, how, what is your advice to say, if you want to say to your let's say you're doing a sales meeting and you have a whole bunch of salespeople coming in from all over the country, and this is their A group of people. These are their, high-end salespeople, and they're doing some type of honorary awards dinner. Is there a way that makes sense to say, you work for this company and this company is requiring you to get a vaccine before coming to this event?
I don't think that we would have to deal with it on our end. I think that's corporate culture. It's part of the environment. So if they want people to be vaccinated, they need to do that to go to the office. So that's way before they even have an event or a sales meeting. So I think we don't have to. I think that way we don't have to deal with that. But
Gotcha.
If it's a meeting that they're bringing in clients that they don't have control over,
right.
The corporate culture. Sorry. That's kind of where
we get into a gray area,
because especially if it's a client, because you don't want to offend them or upset them.
Yeah. I mean, what if you're a business and you're trying to get the sales? So this is a sales meeting to try to get their business. I mean, can you really ask them to be vaccinated and then say, hey, now sign this contract and give us $1 million?
Again, like Marcy said, you can nicely say we would appreciate it if if you're coming to this, that you were vaccinated. They can't demand that of you, and they can't.
Yeah. I mean, especially if you're trying as a salesperson, me as a small business, I can, because I'm a small business. And if I go to my clients, I can say, no, I don't want to sign a client that is going to require me not to wear a mask. I mean, and that actually has come up, FYI. That did actually come up. And I said, absolutely not. I have to have the ability to allow myself and my employees to protect themselves if need be. And if this is a deal breaker, then the deal is broken. But I'm a small business. I mean, I'm not dependent on each individual, thing. If I have a business that it's $1 million, I'm not going to say that to my client. Be like, oh, you're going to give me $1 million? Well, I'm sorry, it's a deal breaker if you don't want to wear your mask. I mean, Oh, that's hard. That's really hard. I mean, we just
get slaughtered. Don't be greedy.
I know. So Brooke's a big. This is a famous saying on this show: is that if don't be greedy, pigs get slaughtered. Greedy pigs get slaughtered because they eat too much and they get fat, and so of course they're going to get butchered first. So there you go. There's the background on that one.
But I do think there's a nice way of saying it. And again, in this culture that we are all in, coming out, hopefully, like you said, coming out of COVID, I think people would not be terribly offended if it's known that they want everyone to stay safe. They're trying to create a safe environment for all the people that are coming. And if you know that that's what the end game is, then I don't think people are going to have a big fit about it.
So let me switch over to something that's probably a little easier to talk about, because I know we just went through some very testy conversation right there. I know that there's political conversations on all over the world going on right now. Like, oh, I can't believe they said this, But luckily, I usually take the differing opinion. So if any heat's going to happen, bring it on.
And I believe that down the road we're going to hear more about this from a lot of industries. We're going to hear more about it as time goes on. Because they're going to have a lot of conferences and such, that it will be a topic of discussion.
And we have to talk about this. And that's the thing.
Sorry.
No, you first.
I do think that if a company is not comfortable, or if they, it's extremely important for them that everybody be vaccinated before that they come to their event, they're probably going to postpone it a little longer and wait for things to settle down a little.
I agree. I agree. They're going to delay it a little bit just so that way there's a little bit more time to get more people vaccinated, or even come up with a new vaccine, because a lot of people don't realize this, but there are still vaccines being produced that we don't even know about yet, that are still going through the whole process of being approved. So we may have just the 3 now. Well, let's just say 2. Let's say we just have the 2 right now. But, there's got to be a 4th, 5th, or 6th out there in the future world. Let's talk about our internal culture, because us as event planners and wedding planners and event specialists, things change dramatically for hotels and for event companies like yours. I know that I was talking to multiple hotels that reduced their number of employees dramatically from 10 to 2, right? So all of a sudden, and those 2 were working at the front desk, they were cleaning rooms, they were doing the sales, they were working from home, but they also reduced their office occupancy. And now we're on the other side, and I feel like hotels are a little slow to respond, because I'm still having hard times getting in touch with salespeople because they're still doing multiple jobs, and yet the business is back. But Lauren, you were telling me that even internally, you guys expanded to make sure that people had safety space around them, and how's that going, and what's happening now?
Well, 2 parts to that. I mean, we expanded a little because we added a whole new portion to our warehouse for our graphics department, because the printers are so big and everything. It's such a great big business of ours. Right. But when everybody was in lockdown and working from home, when they started trickling back into the office, they made sure that everybody was spread out. They wanted to make sure that everyone was safe, that they weren't near each other. And so even like places that some of the rooms might have several workstations in it, they no longer had several people in them. So I'm saying now, like, we are, bringing back a little bit of our normalcy, and we are about to move some of the offices around, maybe in one of them, which is kind of why I'm in the conference room today and not in my office, because I'm about to move into an office. So but it's good. It's nice to know that my company values me and wants to keep me safe and my coworkers safe, and they take it seriously. And that's a great thing to know, that do that.
And to be honest, I think that's going to be one of those things that as salespeople start looking for other jobs, because I have heard this over and over and over, that salespeople are getting really tired of having to do 18 different jobs, that one of the things that they're looking for is value. Does the company value me and my health? And not only just about bonus and about, salary, do they value my health? And I think that's
Good question.
right. But I think
Most
that's
important question, I think.
well, I feel like that's a definite pre versus post COVID question. I don't know a single person that would say, "Oh, do they value my health before COVID?"
No.
I don't know if you can see, like over it, like maybe you can't see. I want to think there's a whole poster of hand sanitizing, wear your mask, and all the stuff that's on that wall. I mean, it's all over the building. We've got plexiglass dividers. We've got all this stuff in just to make sure. And I know it's not just our company, but it's pretty impressive when you walk in here. I mean, you feel safe. It's just a important thing.
And I think that, and again, not a pre-COVID moment. I mean, Marcy, did you ever think, oh, do I feel safe in this hotel health-wise?
No, but I think that what's going to happen eventually, I think people who are in the management level, they're going to take a look and say, if I want to get more people to book events at their hotel, you need people who are either going to be salespeople or you need people who are going to be service people. Because if you have one person doing both jobs, eventually that person is going to get burnt out, right, and one area is going to suffer over another area. So that's one part of it. And I think the problem that they're having is finding the right people to come in and apply for jobs. I know a lot of companies, a lot of restaurants in particular, are having difficulty getting people to come in and apply for jobs because people who were laid off, they went out and got other jobs in a totally different field because they needed to have that income coming in. Now to get those people back is a little bit of a challenge for them.
Well, so Peter Ritchie just sent out the results of a local survey, and it's at up to 80% of our event industry found another job not in the event industry.
Wow.
I'm like, wow. I mean,
80%. That's 80%. Amazing.
So and that's talking about people in the hotel sales industry. That's, people that used to work by the pool, bartenders that used to be bartenders. They said, nope, that's too much for me. I need to worry about myself and safety. So now I've chosen to get out of this business. That's a detriment.
But is it they've chosen because of their health and safety, or they've chosen because the hotels were closed and they needed to have an income and events were kind of.
Yeah. Just out of curiosity.
I think there's both kinds of people: the people that were scared, and then the other side of it as well. I think it kind of went, both ways. I think, in my opinion.
Did the survey say? I'm just curious to know. But did the survey say anything about the percentage of people who are getting? What do they call that?
Something.
When you're laid off. When you're laid off. Unemployment.
Yeah, when you get unemployment. Well, and I haven't done a deeper dive into that. I was just reading the highlights because it literally came through right before we went on the show, and I was like, let me quickly look through this really quick. But Brooke, as somebody that's in this industry, I mean, we go to a million different hotels and deal with a million different people. I mean, you've always been very careful about your safety. Right. How do you feel?
That's always been my number one thing's always been my safety and the safety of others.
100%.
Like that first and foremost.
Well, and that's what, and I make fun of the face shield thing, but that's not actually. It was because we wanted to make sure that you stayed safe during all of this.
And it's easier for me to breathe because I have a deviated septum.
Right.
So I get one side of my nose that works, and allergy season's getting me together this year. So masks are hard even twice as hard for me to breathe in.
Right.
So the shield was for a benefit both for makeup reasons, look-wise, and to keep you safe.
Because then everybody can still see how pretty you are and make sure that you're breathing safe. Okay. Well, okay. What is, and I'll open this up to the floor for the conversation. What do you think is another pre-COVID thing that we wouldn't have thought about pre-COVID, but now in a post-COVID world is going to be something that we forever talk about or bring into the discussion when it comes to events in general?
So hand sanitizer, I think, is going to be a thing forever now. If it wasn't already there, it's probably always going to be now.
I hope so. to be honest, because I think people are disgusting.
And
in
you should
general.
just wash your hands anyways.
No, and
I mean,
well, and as a person that used to work on the hotel side of it, if you ever, I guarantee you, there's a million hotel people listening to this right now. When you have to clean somebody's room when they're on vacation, you realize how nasty people are in general. They are disgusting. And so I love the idea of hand sanitizer. You know, not our clients are all amazing and fabulous and super neat. I'm just saying, just in general, it's a disgusting world out there. What I think space is going to be something that I will now forever have a different view on when it comes to how many people I put per table.
Guest count is going to be a big thing too, I think now.
Yeah.
Because of COVID. I think people are rethinking, I think we just talked about this last show.
Mm-hmm.
Who really needs to be here? I think that's going to be something that you're still going to have your people that want 250, 150, 200 people at the wedding. You're still going to have those brides. But I do think there's going to be a few that are going to rethink.
Like, who do I really want here? Do they really make a difference? But I think it's also going to be about the number of people per table. We got so used to the idea that we could cram 12 people on a 72-inch round and make our guest list fit. And now we're like, well, we've got, right? And because we've gotten used to doing 6 to 7 on a 72-inch round. That's that's a 5-person difference per table. I think people are going to be rethinking their floor plans forever now. It's like, do we really want to squeeze 12 people together? Because look what happened before this. Look how quickly COVID spread because there were events going on and we didn't know where the virus was. And what happens if this happens again?
Pass the salt. Like, I mean,
throw it to me.
Well, what about
everybody gets butter?
Right? Yeah. What about that? What about individual packets? What do you think we're ever going to go back to? The big caddy container on the tables again that everybody touches. Lauren's being very quiet.
Or even like,
but I think we are going to go back to it. I think so. I think I hate to say it, but I think we as a society, I know it's a big blanket I'm saying here.
Right.
Have a very short memory. And I do think, and I think right now, yes, everyone's going to be aware and they're going to really be cautious or at least maybe not be cautious, but think before they do something. I think I really do think everyone's going to go right back to the way we were. I think we're going to be crammed into 12 at a table. I think you're going to be,
It's funny that
I definitely.
You know what? It's funny that you say that short-term memory because how many times have we each individually gotten very ill at some point? Either we drank too much, or we overdid it over a weekend, and we thought, from now on, I'm gonna have a bottle of water in between each drink, and I'm gonna make sure I get 8 hours of sleep. And how long does that last?
Good luck on the 8 hours of sleep. I think the bottle of water thing might happen faster than the nap, honey.
But after a couple of weeks of feeling fine, that goes away. You just kind of go back to the way your life. And Lauren, I think that's actually a really smart point. It's not something I would have really thought of because obviously being so deep in the trenches, I would just assume that everybody would. But if you're not in this industry and you're not faced with this every single day, forgetfulness is a thing.
Yeah, and I think it's a convenient forgetfulness too, right? It's a pain to put the mask on. It's a pain to, it's uncomfortable or I just think people, but also I have a great example. So about a week ago or 2 weeks ago, I met a client out for lunch and we sat outside, the typical, what we're supposed to do right now. I tell you, most people that were coming to the restaurant or, getting out of their cars and stuff, like hardly anyone had masks on. They put it on right when they got to the restaurant because they had to.
Right.
I don't think, just seeing that, I was surprised at how many people were walking around without their masks. And no judgment on them either way, but that people are moving past it and they're going to move past it very quickly.
Well, I think that's something that I feel like that's a great point to put in here. We're not judging anybody on that. That's not our job. Our job as event people, we're not that is not our job, is to judge other people. Our job is to make your dream come alive. That's our job. That's our whole job.
Mask and all.
Right?
You know.
If you want to do lime green and turd brown, have at it.
No, that is your job to talk out of that.
You know, I have no, I'm not going to tell you whether or not I like that or not. No. Yeah, maybe the adjectives might have put you in there, but you know, I mean, that's not my job is not to place judgment. That I place judgment on you privately. Yeah, of course, behind the scenes, like we all do. We'll get together and go, can you believe they even thought about doing that? But you know, at the end of the day, it's not my party, it's yours. You know, my job is to make your party come alive based on the things that you find important. So if you really love crushed velvet and light creams, I'm going to figure out a way to involve crushed velvet and light creams.
What was it, lime green and turd or what?
I'll tell you, I get
What
asked
about
that
you and
question.
I don't
lot.
know. It's a live show. What am I going to do? Anyway.
I get asked that question quite a bit because when they're coming to me for invitations,
yeah,
I do get asked, you know, oh, which one do you like? And I think that ultimately I have to sit and listen to the client and what they really want. And you start listening to their personality and what they're having and all of these other details. I try not to impart my personal decision. However, based on what I'm hearing from that client, I will eventually succumb to telling them my thoughts if I'm thinking that they would be more suited to go with one over another. But it doesn't mean that I'm giving my personal opinion. It's just I'm listening to their needs and I'm listening to their desires.
Well, you're probably giving them their feedback, honest feedback on what you feel like the one thing is weighted towards the other. I mean,
exactly.
And I try to do that when it comes to venue selection. I go through this with venue selection because people really love a venue and they'll say, oh, but we really wanted, you know, string lights and outdoors. And then you find a perfect place that you swear they're going to love. And then they pick the other one that's a little hoity-toity that you wouldn't have ever thought of, which, by the way, happened in the last 6 months, which I was like a little surprised because I wouldn't have thought this couple would choose anyway, it doesn't matter. I went too far off the script there. But again,
we'll finish the job, sir.
Yeah, right? No, but not my event. It's not my event. My job is to make your event. I mean, Lauren, how do you do that with corporate clients? I mean, you know, how do you not embed your own personal opinion into events?
I think corporate is a lot easier than social because corporate is very straightforward. Corporate's usually like, all right, so these are the parameters, this is what we're looking for, and you just go with it. I think, you know, social events are really tied in with emotions, and that is you know, that's more difficult because they're, you know, they have definite opinions of what they want, but it's tied into, like, if a client really wanted the color scheme that you wanted, you talked about with the lime green and the brown.
Brown, yeah.
And a social thing, I mean, they, you know, if you even stepped on that and said, oh, I don't think that that's a good color scheme, you know, they would be offended. They would take it very, very personally.
I know.
You're corporate and you kind of say it like in a nice way, or you just kind of bring up, you know, they're more receptive and they'll be, oh, okay, you know, I think it's just a very different dynamic.
Well, and I guess different motivations too, because I'm assuming in corporate, you know, if it's about excitement and how do you excite a group of people, that's a totally different visual than, you know, soft and warm and fuzzy.
Right. And corporate, it's about, you know, there's a lot of other factors going in there. You know, they're trying to get their return on investment. They're trying to make sure that the CEO is happy. They're trying to make sure, you know, all those things. Whereas, you know, you have a wedding, it's the bride and the groom and that's it. You know, like that's what's important. Or the bride's mother maybe might be thrown in there too. But you know what I mean? Like, yeah. It's very, very direct with those people.
Well, one of the things I've learned definitely during this time is I've definitely learned how to be politically correct with, not on this show, obviously, but with families is how to be sensitive to multiple points of view. And I'm going to go back to the COVID conversation because there are parts of the family that felt very comfortable in being in the room, you know, regardless, mask, no mask. And then we had some that said, I don't feel comfortable coming into an enclosed room at all. And you had to figure out how to make sure that they still felt like they were part of it. Like maybe they did the speech at the first of the event and then they left. How do you make that happen without making them look like they cheaped out? They left. Because part of the family is going to go, can you believe she left? And the other part is going to be that, can you believe they still had the wedding?
Well, I think that has to do with like what Marcy said. You really have to listen to your client. You really have to understand everything that's going on. And with the people that are going to skip out, I hate to use that word, but to skip out,
right?
They have to know that. They have to know, listen, these people are not comfortable, but they still want to be there and they still want to celebrate you and they still want to do this part. They just cannot do the whole thing.
Which is why we would do outdoor ceremonies and include the whole family. And I think one of the things that is going to stick around that was pre-COVID is post-COVID is venue options. We opened ourselves up to a whole new idea of what was possible for venues because we had to think outside of the box. The whole industry got forced all at once to be creative for venues. Like we couldn't go to our old standards. We couldn't just go, we're just going to go back to, our usual standby hotels. Let's find another location that this works.
That wasn't an option for a while. It was very much backyard, cousin's house kind of thing, but we pulled off a few.
Yeah. And I think
I caught the tail end of, when you were speaking about, remember it was actually, I think our first one back, after the big COVID hit.
Yeah.
We had a table set up for, I want to say, aunts, uncles, grandparents, whatever. It was, I think the parents of one of the groom or bride, and they were going to hit it right after the speeches, but we made them feel so safe because we followed protocol and we were so on top of things that they ended up staying the whole time and had a wonderful time, and they stayed for the whole night.
That's when you've gone above and beyond and making people feel safe. Is that when they absolutely tell you from the start to finish, we are not staying, we cannot stay in this enclosed area, we do not feel safe, and that all of a sudden they go, you know what, we're going to stay. You've done such a good job of keeping everybody separate. And luckily, I had already incorporated them into the floor plan because that would have sucked. Yeah. Oh my God, to have, 6 extra people show up out of nowhere. But, it's like, but I think that's one of the things pre-COVID, post-COVID is venue selection. We are in just a totally different world when it comes to venue selection. We just have opened ourselves up. We are now able to do an event in places that people would have never even thought of doing before, like a backyard. Let's just say, like people's backyards. I mean, we've learned how to transform backyards in ways that we would have never thought about before.
Farms, ranches.
Oh, horse farms. Okay, Brooke. Okay. We did an event at a horse farm, and she goes, "We're actually at a horse farm." So
that kickstarted my hay fever that I haven't experienced in 9.5 years.
All she could keep saying was, "Really, really." Really?
I honestly thought we were turning this wonderful university with fabulous air conditioning into some kind of hoedown hootenanny type situation.
No, it was actually on a farm.
On a farm.
Yeah, so she was funny. That was funny.
And I've taken stock in Kleenex ever since.
I know, but your response to that was, so no, we're actually going to a horse. Okay. So, but Lauren, what about you? I mean, we learned how to make staging work in areas that we would have never thought about using staging before to cover up all that ugly space. I mean, people don't typically take care of their backyards, because they don't normally have people over. I mean, we learned how to really cover up a lot of stuff.
But that's part of what we do, right? We're all flexible and we know how to take a space and transform it, and that's really our job anyway, right? So regardless if we're put into a horse farm or a yard that's not been kept up very well, whatever it is, that's what we do. That's where we shine. That's why they're calling to us.
Well, and I have to tell you, there was one Haley works for y'all at EGS.
ESG.
ESG. No, Event Group Services.
No.
EGS. Right?
Other way
EGS.
around.
Oh, it's an Event Services Group? Oh, of course, I corrected my spelling on my sheet and then I
ABS?
messed up. Event Services Group. So we're going to say Event Services Group a million times so everybody understands that it's Event Services Group. Anyway, so you guys transformed a whole ceiling into a thunderstorm. And like it is award-winning, worthy, awe-inspiring moment. Like I still remember that visual like it was yesterday. I mean, complete with lightning happening up in the clouds. Like, what? Anyway, so Lauren, thank you so much for being on the show. I hope you stay with us for After the Veil.
I sure will. Thank you. This was fun.
Hey! Oh my goodness. Well, I know it was an interesting and sometimes politically challenging conversation, but thank you for giving me your true viewpoints as well as Marcy and Brooke. So we're going to hear from our sponsor and we'll be back in about 30 seconds. Nobody go nowhere.
I, Ava, wonder if our guests would be here on time.
If we had a custom wedding website.
With our ceremony details on it.
And I, Taylor, would pick Zola to have and to host our wedding website. Ours even matched our Zola invites. The whole thing was so freaking easy.
Do you think Zola could have made planning your perfect wedding easier?
We do. I do.
We've helped 1 million couples plan their weddings with free websites, registry, and invitations. Get started for free at zola.com.
Okay, it's time for new commercials. I love that. I love that commercial. I love that commercial. But okay, it's time to reach out to our sponsors and be like, okay, time to step it up again. We got to get new stuff. But okay, so after the veil, we get to talk about whatever we want. So I particularly want to talk about the fact that, you know, for the first time in my entire time that I've started the company, I'm actually got at a point that I'm gonna have to tell people I'm no longer available for a particular period of time. Like, what? How did that happen?
That's a good feeling.
But I think that comes with the fact that everyone's been waiting for so long that all of a sudden now we're going to have, I think the floodgates are going to open.
Well, because I'm kind of the first, I'm first on the line. So usually they hire their event planner first and then they start hiring all the other stuff. So, you know what that tells me is the salmon is coming. It's coming because it is crazy out there right now. It is amazing how many people are looking. And I think people are looking for event planners that they would have never, ever, ever thought in their entire life that they would have ever wanted an event planner before. And now they're like, oh, well, if this happens again, we have somebody on our side. You know what I mean? I mean, Lauren, look at you. Brand new job at Event Services Group. I'm just saying. And Jeff Gold is there, and all people that I love. And so that's what I'm saying. And you guys do so much.
We do. And
Holy moly.
People too. So
I know, but you guys do. I mean, I feel like you're kind of a one-stop shop location. I mean, do you do photography too?
we do photography. We do have those services. We have Lori takes care of that in-house for us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's kind of incredible because the nice thing is that I never feel like if I hire you guys for one thing, I never feel like it's a have to on the other parts as well. You know?
That's why we do have our separate companies that we are still going to have their own identities. Right. So we don't want to make it so people feel like they have everything. We have to use everything, or we want people to feel comfortable, especially like other companies that do provide some of the services that we provide. They can use us as well without feeling that we're going to step on their toes.
Which is nice because I know we've had Susan Jaffe on the show, and she was with you with your group for a while, and she's an incredible florist. I don't know, is she still with you guys?
Yeah.
Okay. But she was awesome, and I know that she was doing a different role. She decided to do a different role in her life, and that's probably why. But again, that's why I love you guys so much, is that you can do one thing with you and don't feel like, okay, I got to go through them for all the other parts. I mean, you fight for the business like everybody else.
Yeah.
You know, and I think that's an important thing to say when you're, have so many different houses, is that yes, we have all of these other systems in place, all these other groups of people, entertainment options, but they have to fight for the business just like I did. And I love that. what is your specialty going to be? Or what is your specialty in that area? Because I know you're an event specialist, but is there going to be a section?
So right now I do both social and corporate, though there's not that much corporate at the moment just because of what's going on out there.
Yeah.
So I'm definitely doing a lot more social right now. I'm working with social clients and I'm out there talking to my corporate clients as well, but they're not ready to do too much with me right now. And that
because I feel like social clients don't have to be as politically correct as our corporate clients. I mean, our corporate clients are having to follow the same line that we were trying to follow on this line and doing very poorly on my part, FYI. But you know what I mean? But I feel like our corporate clients are having to worry about how are we being seen by our customers, by our other clients, by the industry at large. Are we overstepping? And our social clients are going, I'm tired of waiting. I want my wedding. Screw that.
Yeah, exactly. But there's definitely the perception, and a lot of corporations have to worry. They have, they've got what you call it? They've got their
online.
No, well, the perception online, yes, but they also have to keep their, and I can't even remember. I don't know why. I'm sorry, I'm going blank. But like their stockholders,
Oh yeah.
Well, yeah, because if they upset them, then everything is
because there's a lot of politics in the corporate world.
Exactly. So they have to be careful, the perception, and also there's some liability as well that they have to be careful of. So it's messier for corporate right now.
Well, I know
not so much.
Well, so I went to a corporate event recently, and they actually had me sign a piece of paper that stated that I would not sue them in the case that I thought I got COVID there. And I thought, first of all, it caught me off guard because I was like, oh, I wish they would have said something before I actually showed up at the door. Like, guess what? You got to sign your life away. But but I'd already been vaccinated, so I didn't care. I'm like, here, sign my life away. But that it was surprising that they first of all did it, but then as I thought about it, I went, well, duh, they're protecting themselves. They gotta.
Absolutely.
I mean, we're in the world of McDonald's hot coffee suing kind of world. Yeah. I mean,
and if you're a small mom and pop shop, that one person can wipe you out. That one lawsuit. So I get it.
Yeah, and we've all seen the guy with the glass of ice that throws it on the floor and then slips on the ground at Kmart and goes, "Oh, that was a wet spot," even though he's the one that caused the wet spot.
Oh wow, is that still around?
I don't know. I don't think so, but probably because I got sued too much. Right? I mean, who went to Kmart? I used to go to Kmart. I still go to Kmart. Well, there's one in the Keys still alive, but now they're just trying to sell off all like their overstock that they have in the warehouses, and so they have like the same beach blanket but for like 6 aisles straight. I mean, I'm not kidding. I wish I had taken a picture of this because it really was, oh my God, it was literally 3 towels single stacked on every single shelf for like 6 rows, and it was nothing but the same towel.
Special, baby.
I know. I wanted actually to go through it, just like look and see if they were different towels, but they were an ugly pattern, so you could tell they were all the same towel. But I mean, but that's the thing, is that in this sue crazy world, you have to our corporate clients have to be careful than ever, because this can be life and death for people.
Yeah, and usually, I mean, even pre-COVID, I mean, a lot of corporations were very, very careful of what they were doing. They were very careful of where they were going and how they were seen, and sometimes they would pick certain venues or certain hotels that you had to go through a gate, so they couldn't even, typical people couldn't get in to see what they were doing. I mean, there's a lot of stuff that you don't realize that these corporations are worried about.
Yeah. I'll go as far as I did an event for Visa, MasterCard, Visa actually specifically a specific bank of Visa, because Visa has multiple yada yadas. Anyway, and they were really crazy even about the gloss versus matte on the signage out in the lobby, because it had to be matte. They felt glossy gave the wrong impression of the brand, and they were like, nope, any signage that's outside cannot be glossy.
For you,
it has to be matte. And the doors to the ballroom had to be privacy doors, so you couldn't see through the crack because of competition issues. because other people were coming to like, and this happens with pharmaceuticals all the time. Pharmaceuticals are notorious for privacy issues. I mean, my God. I mean, Lauren, you know this.
They're sitting in the hallway, scoping them out to see what's going on.
Or they're coming up with a new drug, and is this new drug going to take over everything? And so they've got competition out there, and a lot of people don't realize that in our event industry, we had to think about that. It's like, oh my God, can you see through the crack of the door? It's amazing how many hotels you can. And
No, I was just going to say, there's, as far as pharmaceuticals, I mean, there's a lot of stuff you have to be careful of. And they also sometimes, depending on what you're doing, I don't know if you've ever had to sign like
NDA, honey, NDA.
Even as much as if you have a small like boardroom style event, they'll want, if they're taking a lunch break or something, they want it locked up and they don't want you to be entering. Like they are very, very strict.
And they don't want anybody cleaning the room either. They're like, nope, we don't want you cleaning the dishes.
You can take pictures of whatever's going on in the room, and there's a lot of ways that the information can get out. So they have to be very careful. Absolutely.
No, they're like the whole Nabisco Hydrox thing, honey. I'm just saying.
But
no, I'm not that old, but I do know a couple of things.
Oh, okay. I was about to say.
Cookies. I know about cookies. I believe in cookies and milk, honey. Okay.
But I think that's a kind of crazy part of the event world that a lot of people don't even realize that happens. How crazy people get when it comes to this, and as much as you think that they're trying to be overprotective of their information, I've seen it. I've seen a competition try to get into the building and try to get that information. It's mind-boggling to me that they hire people to go and sneak into hotels just to find this information, because they do.
It's corporate espionage,
It's big money. It's really big money. But I mean, the NDAs are my favorite because that happens with famous people also. I mean, I can't even tell you, I've done weddings for really famous people that I can't even talk about to anybody, which really bites because
I told you I was over.
Sure is nothing.
No, you're not allowed to do. I can't even talk about it like on this show in third person. It is so tight. Like Brooke doesn't even know like some of the people that I've done weddings for before she came on. So of course, since then she knows everything. But
I know two things.
But still,
I love you, Debbie, for the flower, but pollen in my house. We've done how many shows? And my not for nothing, but I got new Scott Barnes brushes, and in person, my face looks flawless, and I look so beautiful, and I actually felt pretty. And all I look like a 4-year-old snotty brat right now. And this is not something I'll be rewatching when we hang up the
phone. Well, I mean, so Lauren, what's the craziest? I mean, and what about not retainers? For the one sheets for the famous people, the writer.
Yes.
Oh my goodness, Lauren, give me your crazy. You've dealt with writers before, right?
I've dealt with writers, but
have you ever had a crazy writer?
I haven't had any really crazy writers.
Oh my God!
Sorry, I'm really boring here, but no, I don't.
No, so I did a party for, and I can talk about this because it's been more than 10 years. But I did a party for Mark Cuban. I did his 40th birthday party in his backyard in Dallas, and we had John Mellencamp come and sing for 75 people. Crazy, 75 people, and let me just tell you that John Mellencamp's writer was like 3 pages and included things like big red gum. What? Oranges, like lifesavers, but only
I think
red.
Sometimes they do that just to see if people will read the writers.
So yes.
So guess
I want a pony.
Well, so I was actually
there's truth to that.
I was actually doing. I was doing another show where I had another famous person, and I was actually fairly close to their manager, and I said to them, I'm like, I don't understand. You and I know each other, and yet you still sent me this 4-page writer for this person, and they're like, yeah, you know what? You can actually ignore that, because what happens is every single time the artist asks for anything, so randomly they ask for a pear. God knows what they needed it for. They wanted to put a little pear in their salad, whatever. The management company then attaches it to their writer, but they never take anything off.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. So they just keep adding it. They just keep adding it. And all of a sudden you've got 3 pages of stuff and you have a whole room full of fresh flowers, fresh fruit, only red M&Ms, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah. I want a hairless cat that I can feed pumpkin slices to. Like, I would get so stupid with it. Honestly, I would just to see if they would pay attention.
But
I want floating kiwi and Fuji butter from such and such place on such an airline. Like,
and actually, that is one. Somebody asked for very specific water, and the reason that they asked for
I'm not going
that.
to speak about Taylor Day in this way, but I did listen to her while I was getting ready this morning or this afternoon rather. And yeah.
Well, that's
that's
actually a Taylor Dane thing. Actually, is the Fiji water. That's actually where my brain was coming. Is actually Taylor Dane.
Yeah.
But that's
horrible concept.
But again, more than 10 years ago, so you can't come after me. God knows what your
I can
writers
talk all
like.
I want about it because it didn't even come from you.
But I mean that's
Fiji water.
But that's kind of the thing for event people, as being in the event industry. A lot of people don't realize that we have to deal with those kind of personalities as well. Not only are we dealing with all the individuals on this side of it, we're dealing with
me. I mean, that's just enough in itself. On a Tuesday.
I didn't bring that up.
Sundays and Saturdays and brunches, I'm good. But
are
Tuesdays, I don't know. I just got a raise. Apparently, I'm doing something right, or I'm not doing something enough.
Oh my god! There. So on that,
you look at that however you want. Either do a good job, or I need to start doing a better one. So
on that, well, thank you for the hour, Lauren. Fine, thank you so much for joining us from the event service group. Thank you, and congratulations on the new position. I know you're going to do amazing stuff there. Because
thanks so much.
Yeah, we already love all the people. So,
Marcy, for having me on today.
Oh my God, we loved having you. And Marcy Gutenberg with An Affair to Remember by Marcy, Brooke Logan Stoner, and of course your host Keith Willard with Keith Willard Events. Thank you, everybody. We will see you next Tuesday at 2. Everybody say goodbye.
Bye.
Bye.